customer service, looking after people is the most important thing. You must communicate with people. The best way to get more business is word of mouth, basically.
Hello and welcome to this BRITE interview series. My name is Jake Rakosi. I'm your host today, and we have a special guest on today, Andrew Slade. Thanks for joining us, Andrew. You are an accountant by trade, 30 years of experience in the field, an entrepreneur, a property manager, so you do a little bit of everything.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, so thanks for coming on
That's
today.
okay. Yeah, good to see you.
We appreciate it.
Sure.
Just first off, for all our viewers out there, give us a little bit of background on yourself.
Sure. Well, the first thing to say is I'm English, you can probably tell.
Yeah.
So I was born in Bristol in England, and I lived there for 50 odd years. The last 4 years I've been in the US. So basically, my father was a chartered accountant, CPA, to you, and I was always interested in what he was doing, figures and math. That was my sort of thing. So basically, I trained with him, qualified with him, became a partner of his. We had a reasonable sized business. We had 17 staff, a couple of floors, a big office in the centre of Bristol. And I really enjoyed that, meeting people, helping them. Accountancy is really interesting because you meet people from all different types of backgrounds. 1 minute you're seeing a lawyer or a dentist, the next minute you were seeing a shopkeeper or an odd job man or whatever. So I find that very interesting. I enjoy meeting people. Eventually my father retired and I went off on my own, and he sold his practice to a bigger firm, but I didn't really want to be part of a small cog in a big wheel. So I basically started from scratch, had one client, and I built that business up. And I really enjoyed doing that, my own thing, if you like. I've always been my own boss rather than, I was employed by my dad, but basically that's a little bit different, I suppose. So I started my own practice, built that up. But after a bit, I just found that doing the same thing over and over again, I was getting a little bit bored. I wanted a new challenge.
Yeah.
We bought a vacation home over here in the US, and we enjoyed coming over here. And then we wanted to manage that and let it out. So that was something new for me to do. So that was a new challenge which I enjoyed. And the more we came over here, the more the children were saying, "Oh, can't we stay? Yeah. So our lives in England."
They enjoyed the sunshine. You got Disney here. So.
Exactly. So, but we kept looking into it, and in the end, we thought, well, why not? We don't want to live with regret, So let's give it a go. And we've been living here the last 4 years now, and we've loved it. So,
great.
So there you go. It's a little bit on
welcome to the United States. We're glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
And just taking it a little bit back to starting your own accountancy firm, how did that really begin, and how did you build it up from the ground?
Well, as I said, I had. I think the idea originally was that my dad would gradually wind down, I would gradually take over. But I really wanted to do my own thing. I didn't really want, as I said, be a small cog in a big wheel.
Yeah.
So all the other staff went to the new firm, and I said, no, I'm going to do my own thing. And there was one client that I had where I was doing a little bit more than just the annual accounts. So I would, they had a big pub, we call it in England, public house business, which was growing and growing. They couldn't really cope with it themselves, so they needed somebody to deal with it on a more regular basis. So I took that on, and through that I started to get referred for other pub businesses and other businesses, and first of all I just ran it from my own home, like in a very small business from your own home, and then eventually I had an office and a couple of staff, and it just grew. But I enjoyed doing that. I'd rather be like a chieftain and an Indian, if you like, to do it myself. So that's what I did. So.
I remember you telling me that you've never gone for a job interview or anything.
That's right. Yeah, I know, it's very odd. I've given quite a few, but I've never ever been for one.
Wow.
I worked with my dad. I suppose that's a little bit different. But with him, I started off being like a tea boy.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to sort of go in at a higher level or anything like that. I wanted to gain the respect of everybody else. Obviously, when I first started, there were people who were more highly qualified than I was. But my dad always instilled in me the benefits of studying and getting your qualifications. And some of the other staff didn't want to do that. So I remember vividly going after work, going off to the library in Bristol back in England and studying. So I'd work all day and then study for 3 hours on an evening. I did that you know, night after night for years really to get my qualification. And I think people accepted me and for that, and I gradually worked my way up, became a manager and eventually a partner of his. So I interviewed lots of people there, but never ever had an interview myself. So.
But you have a very entrepreneurial spirit. It seems like to never take a job interview and always go your own way.
Yeah.
When your staff said we're all leaving, you're saying, all right, I'm going to do my own thing.
That's it. I think I'm probably unemployable really, you know, because. You know, I like to be very organised, and I like to, you know, do what I think is right. And sometimes when you're working for somebody else, you just have to toe the line and everything else. And yeah, I'd much rather do my own thing. And I like doing different things as well. That's why in the end, I decided to sell my practice and have a new adventure, because you only get one life, and why not? You know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you know, we moved over here, and I sold my practice, and it certainly was a new adventure moving here, because I remember did lots of research for years as to whether we should, whether we shouldn't. The children were getting older, and we thought if we don't do it now, we'll never do it.
Yeah.
Back in England, where we lived, very much out in the sort of in the countryside, so there wasn't a lot for the children to. You know, a lot of them would move away. Apart from, we moved from Bristol down into to Cornwall, if anyone knows Cornwall, but it's very rural. So they have tourism and farming, not a lot else. So most of the kids would move away to higher education. And we thought if we moved here as a family, we could have an adventure here. So we moved over here. We had a property here that I was looking after, and then went into property management and started to manage 20 odd properties here. Which is,
that's kind of a big deal right there.
Yeah, it is for sure.
To go from 1 to 20, how's it been kind of growing that over here in an entirely new business sector, because it's international now?
It is, and if anyone knows me, they know that I wouldn't know, a screwdriver from a, whatever. I'm pretty hopeless practically.
Yeah.
But what I believe is that if you can manage something, and if you treat people properly, then if you're organised and you can do that, then you can make a success of anything really. You don't have to necessarily have the detailed knowledge of, you just know who to contact, and if you have good relationships with them and good relationships with the owners, then I think that's the key really. So.
Yeah. What's it been like making that leap to just, you've made it multiple times now, from starting your own practice to moving to a new country to getting into property management, well into your career. So what gives you that confidence to make that leap? Because there is so many entrepreneurs out there that have that great idea, but just haven't found that spark or haven't had the confidence to make that leap and go for it.
I think you just got to have a bit of guts and go for it. I think there's lots of people that are in a job, they might be being paid well, but they just don't enjoy it. I think I read something the other day, 13% of people really like what they do. And I think that's sad that that's the case. You've got one life, so why not enjoy it? Maybe, do what you want to do, not just because it pays the bills and everything. So I think sometimes you just have to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And, we did lots of research into moving, but until you actually, I remember reading a book, it said, whatever you've got to work out all your costs and everything else. And it said, whatever figure you come to, double it, because that's what it's going to be. And I think it's perfectly true, because moving to a new country is a big leap, because everything's different. I mean, driving on the other side of the road for a start, we use manual shift stick, you called it, back in England. So to transfer to automatic, to
That might be a little bit easier.
It's a difficult going back.
Yeah.
We've just gone back to England for the first time for 4 years, and going back and forth from the other side. I actually drove down the wrong side of the road in England.
Oh no!
Yeah. So only for 5 seconds, and the guy coming towards you was going like this.
Yeah.
So, but it is a big leap, and there's lots. We speak pretty much the same language, but there's lots of regulation. I think it's probably more regulated here, to be honest. You have to have licenses for everything. You have to make sure that I mean, in England, for example, we never carry any ID with us or anything like that. But here, obviously, you need to.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go out without your driving license, yeah?
Never.
But no, but we, often say, I must take it with me.
Yeah.
Because it's not something we're used to. So there's lots of differences, but we've loved it here. We've made lots of friends. The children love it. They enjoy the schools, and so we're glad we made the decision. And it's been ups and downs, but it's been an adventure, So we're looking forward to many years, in the future here.
Great. So tell me a little bit about your business philosophy in terms of, how you grew your accountancy firm to now how you're growing your property management side of things.
Sure.
Is there a certain philosophy that you look at, or what's your business practices behind that?
Sure. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think that you have to look after people. And I think customer service is the most important thing. You must communicate with people. I always find it so frustrating. I'm trying to get hold of a lawyer or something. You'll get their secretary. You never get the person you want to speak to. You leave a message. A couple of days later, they've not returned the call. I know they're busy people, but you just don't know where you are with something. So I think if you can communicate with people, and just to say, look, I can't do it this week, but next Tuesday I'll have it done for you. They're perfectly happy with that. They just like to know. So I think customer service, looking after people, is the most important thing. So I think I can remember my dad going back years ago. He would frustrate some of the managers under him because he'd be having a meeting with them, and the phone would go, and it'd be a client for him, and he would interrupt the meeting that he was having with his staff to take the call from the client, because he said, the customer, the client is number one, and I believe that. I think if I get, I don't always have my phone on. It's not on now, But if someone calls me, today, if I don't go back to them today, I think I've done them a disservice. Even if I just go back and say, I'm really sorry, I couldn't speak to you earlier. I was in a meeting, and I'm away on the weekend, but I can speak to you Monday. I think they're happy with that. But if you just don't go back to them, it's. I think that's awful, So
I'm sure the two fields that you've been in, accountancy and property management, that even is more magnified, because if somebody has an issue with where they live, or somebody has an issue with their money, everyone's worried about
of course,
their money. It really comes down to that customer service.
It is. It's really important, particularly. We had living back in England. We had a vacation home here in the US. People are coming in not just from the US but from all over the world, staying in our property. There are scams out there and everything else, and you've got to reassure people that everything's going to be fine. I mean, one of the things we always did is we'd always have a welcome pack for them, but we'd never tell them. So when they arrive, because the first time we ever came to the States, it's a 9-hour flight from the US, from the UK to US, and then there's 5-hour change in the clocks as well. So you arrive here, you're tired, you got to hire a car, you're driving on the other side of the road, you get to your vacation rental, you're tired, you want a drink, you want something to eat. Yeah. So we always had just a small welcome pack for them. We never told them, and that it cost a few dollars, but that was a number of people that said, that was just a blessing. We got there, we just had a cup of tea, if it's, that's all we do in England, a cup of tea, so the house could be on fire in England, and they thought, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Let's put the kettle on. That's what we do, so, but we had a welcome pack for them, and we look after them, and then we'd follow them up a little bit later, just to make sure everything's okay. We don't want to pester them, they're on vacation, we just want to make sure that, everything's fine, the pool heat's on, they know where the games room is, they whatever. So I just believe that you want to build up the trust with people beforehand. So communicate. so that you get some inquiries for on your vacation rentals, and you want to follow them up. You make phone calls, you send them some videos, you give access to the website, and you just build some confidence with them, so that and it's a bit like a snowball.
Yeah.
Rolling off. Once you start to everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But once you've start with one home or another home, then you get reviews. I'm a big believer in getting reviews, and fortunately, pretty much all our reviews are 5-star. And if we get a 4-star one, I think, what have we done wrong?
Yeah.
But sometimes
and 4-star is still really good.
It's still good, but sometimes some people just will never give 5 stars. And you read the review and you think, well, why have they only given us 4?
Yeah.
But and of course it snowballs, because the more reviews you get, the better reviews you get. And I always respond to the reviews as well. So I always go, glad you really enjoyed it, John. Keep in touch, and if you want to stay again, let us know. And then it snowballs, because I think reviews are so important. If you're going on vacation somewhere, to a hotel, whatever, you're going to look at the reviews.
The first thing I do, of course, every time.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
But you've got, so you start off and you've got 1 or 2, but it builds and it builds, and I think that's really important. So you've got to look after people.
Have you noticed it starts to build a rapport with your clients when you do have that high-touch customer service? Sure.
And I think the best way to get more business is word of mouth, basically. So often we'll get phone calls and we'll say, so and so stayed in one of the properties, they really enjoyed it. If you've got anything similar, and even if you haven't got anything yourself at that point, you maybe built relationships with other managers, so you give them a bit of an offer for someone else, and it's all about relationships and customer service, I think. So
It sounds like your marketing strategy is heavily built in to your customer service strategy. Are you able to speak on that at all?
Well, I just think that is the most important thing. I mean, you can advertise all you like. Sometimes if I'm asking for reviews from people, I'll say, look, we can say what we like on our website, but words from you, your views on everything carry so much more weight. So I think it's really important to do that. And I think the first impressions that people have of you as well is really important. They reckon, like, within, 7 seconds or something?
Something like that.
Someone's made
your first impression's made within 5 seconds of meeting somebody.
Of course. It was strange. I mentioned I'd just come back from the UK. It's the first time we've been back for 4 years. And I went into the office yesterday, and the first person I saw gave me a big hug and said, "Oh, great to see you."
Yeah.
The next person came in and said, "Oh, I've lost something. Do you know where it is?" And I thought, well, how would I know where it is? I've not been here for 6 weeks. How about, hello, nice to see you?
Yeah. Welcome back.
Exactly. So I think your first impressions are really, really important. And it's just simple things, to make contact with people. I think when you're out and about, don't hide your light under a bushel. Talk to people. People are, are friendly pretty much. I mean, what is it they say? A stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. So you just chat to people and, talk to people about what you do, whether it's accountancy, property management, whatever it is, and they'll know someone that knows someone that, I got a friend who might want to do that. And it might not be right now, but I always make a mental note of these things. I record, I'm awful. You speak to my wife, I've got spreadsheets everywhere for everything, but I've always got notes of everybody I've met, everyone I've talked to, every phone call I've had, when I spoke to them, contact details, and I'll go back over those over a period of time and just go back to someone and say, I don't know if you recall, remember we met whenever you mentioned you had a friend who might be looking to stay or whatever. And it's in a way, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
But people, I think, appreciate that. You build a relationship with people over a period of time. And quite often we've had people stay who are friends of friends of friends or family, and they, so I think that's the most important thing. And it's good fun. You build relationships, you make friendships, and it's a nice way of doing business. And I think that's the most important thing.
So it's all very high touch. It's all very hands-on.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that your previous experience in accountancy transitions well to property management?
To a certain extent. I mean, when I was accountant back in England, it's a different era in a way. I mean, these days, everyone searches for everything online. That wasn't the case so much then. So back then, years ago, it was really word of mouth is vital then, you know. I mean, I can't remember when we had our, I'm a bit older than you, so I can't remember when we had our first website, but you know, years and years ago, you just got business from referrals and everything else. Whereas now, obviously, you know, if you haven't got a web, you've got to be up. I mean, these young kids, my children, you know, they're social media and everything. So I'm not so good on that, but you've got to embrace that to a certain extent because people expect it. You talk to somebody, and it's nice to just I'll just text you our website, and you just click your button and it's gone.
Yeah.
I mean that's because everyone does everything on their phones these days, so you've got to keep up with that. So it's slightly different because of the times, but yeah, it's really important to embrace the new technology, and it still comes down to customer service and you know, helping people basically.
Right. So what's next for you right now? Do you plan on scaling this business in Florida? Do you plan on, you know, doing any accounting on the side too?
Yeah, I still have a few clients on the accountancy front back in England, which is nice to keep my sort of hand in a little bit. I mean, various people have said to me, you know, maybe I should start up again here. I'm not sure if I want to do that on the accountancy. If I've done it for sort of 30 odd years. So I'm just looking for new challenges, and my son's a chess player. So I spend a lot of time looking after him, and you know, and that's the same thing because he's just graduated from high school, so he's following in my footsteps a little bit. He wants to be his own boss, and he wants to do chess full time. So he's just starting off with his website and coaching and everything else. And I say the same things to him. You know, you have to build it, and you build it gradually, and you want to get reviews, and you know, and so on. So I find that interesting as well to help him do that. So
can he beat you in chess?
Oh, can he beat me? Oh, for sure. He could beat me blindfold, literally. We play a game, he could look the other way and just call out the moves, and he'd beat me.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, but that's you know, very rewarding to help him do that, and so he wants to be his own boss and do his own thing, and I think here in the US it's pretty much almost accepted that you go to university and so on after high school, and he's quite bright. But he doesn't want to do that. He wants to do chess, and so we're supporting him doing that. And so, you know, it's, as I said, very rewarding.
So taking in his father's footsteps
a little
bit.
I think so. Yeah, it's Slade's are all. My dad was his own boss. I'm my own boss, and I think Theo is too. So
great. Just any final advice for young entrepreneurs?
Any advice? I think all I can do really is just come back to. I listened to a lot of audiobooks. Again, that's a sign of the times. Years ago, it would actually be a book, but now when I'm driving, wherever I'm driving, I have audiobooks on, and I find that a great way of passing the time. And I was listening to Zig Ziglar just yesterday, and he said that you can get everything in life that you want if you help other people get what they want. And I think that's really true, you know, and you shouldn't look at it as what you can get for you. You should look at it as what you can do for them. And if you can provide a service or make them have a great vacation or whatever it might be, or as Theo's just done, helping a young lad increase his rating on the chess front from a certain, you know, then if you can make them happy, then automatically, you know, you have a great business and you enjoy what you do. It's not all about money. That will come automatically.
I was going to say, if you're making yourself happy as well, then the success is going to come.
Sure. It's not all about money. I think lots of young people, it maybe is, but I think that is a byproduct of, you know, my philosophy always has been to have a good business. I always wanted to be very professional, very organised, and do the best I can for all my clients, and the I think the profit and everything else will automatically follow, but you've got to put the work in to do that. A quick buck here or whatever, it never works. You know, if you do something and you're thinking you want someone to think, oh yeah, Andrew, whatever, yeah, you want to go to he'll sort you out. And sometimes you do something for people and you never get even paid sometimes, but that's life. You know, but it will, I'm a great believer in what goes around comes around. And I think if you do what you believe is right for somebody else, and you can go to bed at night, put your head on the pillow and think, I did a really good job today. I think that will come back and pay dividends in the future. So I think that's the best. I'm a bit older than some of the young people starting out, but I think through my career doing different things, that would be my best advice. You do the right thing for them, and it will pay you back.
I think that's really refreshing for a lot of young entrepreneurs to hear, because a lot of people, they just think about that bottom line.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
To be able to hear that it's not all about just making the money is probably really important.
Yeah, I mean, life's to be enjoyed. And, if you can help other people to do that, then what can be better? Whatever field you're in. Right. Whatever field you're in, if you can do something for somebody else, you get a great deal of satisfaction from that. And I think you only understand that when you get a little bit older sometimes. I think lots of young people are, what's in it for me? And that's not always the case. You do something for someone else and you'll get rewarded many, many more times. So.
Great. Well, Andrew, thanks so much for coming on here. We appreciate it. You're going to be sticking around the U.S. for the foreseeable future then?
Yeah, that's for sure. We're here to stay now. So, for sure.
Any favorite places in Orlando you have?
Well, we travel about quite a bit, mainly through the chess, actually. But we're off to Jacksonville later today, a chess tournament. So, but yeah, I don't know. We like to go to the coast, to the beach and so on, because the sea here you can actually go in, and as opposed to England,
it's a lot warmer here.
Yeah, it is for sure. So I'm just getting back used to the heat here, because we've just been in England for a few weeks. So over there, like 70 degrees, everyone's it's hot.
Yep.
Here 70 degrees, everyone's got their sweaters on and everything.
Pretty much,
so,
that's Florida for you.
It's a little bit different, but no, we love it here. Everyone's very, very friendly and helpful. I made lots and lots of friends, we're very happy with with our decisions. So.
Well, thank you.
Okay, good.